Quick question. If Naruto didn't have Kurama and Sasuke didn't have the Sharingan, who do you think would win in a fight? Assuming they had all their other jutsu available, let me know the answer in the comments below. Anyway, on to the video. The chapter begins with our Death King throwing jabs at the Rat Bishop Straff, mocking him for looking exhausted from the drawn-out battle. Redhead Mommy, standing nearby, noticed Bluehead and Alias, bound and still unconscious on the sacrificial altar. Straff had intended to sacrifice them to the demon, but thanks to our team's cunning sabotage, he hadn't gotten the chance yet. Straff boasted that although he was tired, he still had enough strength to get rid of our boys. Channeling his dark magic, he summoned countless undead zombies, poised to attack. With his usual menacing glare, he promised to make them pay and commanded the undead to strike. Our Chads, standing in formation, braced themselves for the clash. Baros, the Tsundere, and Sarathi Mami unsheathed their swords and, like two wolves in a pack of sheep, charged forward to cut down the zombies, delivering staggering attacks. Karnak, our boy, offering support, chanted a spell, calling upon the enslaved souls of the underworld to aid in battle. Countless wraiths responded to the king's summon, crawling from purgatory to join the fight. As Redhead Mami and the Tsundere slashed through the zombies, the wraiths under Karnak's command swept through the battlefield, their cursed claws tearing the undead apart. Their purple, ominous aura gleamed as they slashed the zombies in half with each strike. Not to be outdone, Sarathi and Baros swung their swords in perfect harmony, delivering devastating slashes that swiftly dispatched the undead. The Rat Bishop panicked as his summons were so quickly destroyed. Desperate and cornered, he decided to use his trump card once again, summoning a demon from purgatory, just like all the other creatures in this manhwa. It turned out to be an ugly, yet devastatingly powerful monster. Sorry folks, the beautiful succubus you were hoping for isn't happening. No fapping for you this time. Sarathi, seeing the hellspawn for the first time, trembled at its sight. Baros, however, having gotten used to it by now, just mocked the demon, asking if it wasn't tired from being summoned all the time. Our Chad Karnak, joining Baros in the taunt, told Straff it was getting old, summoning the same demon over and over again. Despite the mockery, Karnak was secretly making his move. Stealthily, he unleashed his dark magic at the demon, trying to interrupt the summoning. The demon, catching onto Karnak's scheme, bellowed in rage, demanding to know what he was doing. Karnak, in his smug tone, casually replied that it was a counter-summon. If the demon was tired of the mortal world, it could head back to purgatory. The hellspawn, refusing to be mocked, channeled its strength and tore through the counter-summoning spell. Amidst a crimson explosion, the demon freed itself. Standing menacingly before Straff, it asked what the contractor desired. Delighted by the turn of events, Straff commanded the demon to eliminate the Chads and capture Sarathi Mami. Obeying the order, the demon unleashed his mana, suppressing the trio. Sarathi, overwhelmed by the mighty aura, froze in fear. Karnak, still as calm as ever, focused more on why his countersummon had failed. Shushing them away, our Chad instructed Baros and Redhead Mami to fight, as there was nothing else they could do now that the counter-summon had failed. Redhead Mami and the Tsundere, having no other choice, charged at the demon. Their momentum, however, was quickly halted by a casual swing from the demon. With just one attack, both knights were pushed back. Laughing at them for being mere insects, the demon raised its sword high and delivered a devastating vertical slash, resulting in a fiery explosion. Baros and Redhead Mami, caught in the blast, winced in pain. With the knights temporarily retreating, Karnak switched tactics, opting for a magic attack. Conjuring a massive fireball, he sent it flying toward the demon. Unbothered by the attack, the demon erected a magical barrier, successfully blocking it. The trio, watching the futile strike, couldn't help but feel vexed. Redhead Mami commented that if the demon had its aura, it would likely be of purple rank in knight ranking. Baros, equally frustrated, lamented not having awakened his aura, as it would have allowed him to fight back. Picking up on Baros's comment, Karnak seemed to remember something. Quickly turning to Baros, he suggested trying out Plan P. Baros, drawing the same conclusion, perked up. Redhead Mami, however, was just puzzled. What were the two idiots scheming now? Placing his hand atop Baros's head, Karnak commanded his kin to accept the order. As magic flowed through his body, a a strange connection formed between Baros and Sarathi. We learn that Plan P stands for Plan Possession, allowing Baros to temporarily possess someone else's body. Baros, now inside Sarathi, confidently charged at the demon. The demon, finding their struggle absurd, asked how a non-aura user could wield someone else's aura. Baros, as if to prove him wrong, unleashed a brimming crimson aura, bathing the sword in its glow. Capitalizing on the demon's shock, he delivered a ghastly slash across its stomach, drawing blood. Gloating for a moment, Baros taunted the demon, stating that using someone else's aura was his specialty. The demon, wincing in pain from the attack, noticed that Baros had perfectly targeted its weak spot. The fight was going to be harder than it thought. To Redhead Mommy's shock, Baros leveled up her aura, promoting her to the Blue Knight stage. Gazing at the sword glowing with a blue sheen, Baros praised Sarathi, telling her that her latent potential was incredible. And thanks to her, he could now fight more comfortably. With renewed vigor, Baros charged at the demon again, delivering devastating aura slashes across its body. Enjoying cornering his foe, Baros grinned. The demon, still confused by the sudden shift, couldn't believe it was losing. It swung at Baros, but the demon commander, in a move reminiscent of Levi, ran along its arm, aiming for its neck. Sensing the danger, the demon shook Baros off. Sticking the landing perfectly, Baros mockingly asked if that was all it had. The demon, panting from its injuries, called Baros a monster and scanned the room for a way to counter. Noticing Baros's vulnerable state, it decisively launched a mana attack at him, hoping to strike while he was exposed. A purple explosion erupted, seemingly vaporizing both Karnak and Baros. Excited by his cunning victory, the demon laughed haughtily, mocking the humans for their carelessness. His celebration was cut short, however, when multiple clones of Karnak appeared around the room. Our boy, mocking both the demon and Straff, informed them they had fallen for the same trick. He explained that, knowing what was coming, he'd made sure to cover his bases. The demon, still confused and searching for the real target, failed to notice Baros sneaking up behind him. Before it could react, Baros unleashed a barrage of slashes, making the demon scream in agony. It had overextended itself trying to escape the counter-summoning, and now its reserves were dangerously low. Nursing its lethal injuries, the demon cursed, enraged that a mere human had wounded it so severely. Opening a teleportation gate to escape, the demon threatened them, promising devastating vengeance upon its return. Karnak, furious, shouted at the fleeing demon, demanding if it thought it could leave after everything it had done. Stretching out his hand, Karnak shot a blast of darkness at the fleeing demon. The ominous purple energy wrapped around the demon, yanking it back from the portal it had started sinking into. As the demon was still in shock at the absurdity of the situation, Karnak activated his mana absorption technique, greedily draining the demon's mana. The demon's face contorted in agony as its life force was ripped away, and it could only scream in fear and anguish until it was entirely drained, leaving no trace of its existence behind. With the battle finished, Karnak deactivated his illusion technique, causing the numerous clones of himself to slowly vanish. Sarathi, now free from the possession, cried out in pain. The technique had taken a massive toll on her body, and it felt like she might collapse at any moment. As usual, our demon commander was nonchalant, giving her a thumbs up and thanking her for letting him use her body. He told her that once she released her aura, the pain would gradually fade. Pleased with their victory, Karnak remarked that there was only one enemy left to deal with. The group collectively turned to face the Rat Bishop, Straff. Though Red Mommy looked like she had been run over by a train, she was in rough shape. Sighing and accepting the perilous situation, Straff immediately surrendered. Abandoning any thoughts of resistance, he promised to share all the information he knew, asking the group what they wanted to know first. Karnak, however, cut him off, saying there had been a misunderstanding. It would be simpler to just end him and channel his soul to retrieve the answers they needed, no need to complicate things. He then turned to Red Mommy, asking if there was any reason to keep the Rat Bishop alive. Sarathi, clearly under Karnak's influence, quickly replied that there wasn't, and that Karnak could go ahead and end the rat bastard. With her approval, Karnak flicked his finger, sending a beam of dark magic towards Straff. The magic coalesced into a grim reaper's scythe that loomed ominously above him. As the scythe descended, Straff made one last desperate plea for mercy, but the scythe was relentless. With a mighty swing, it cut him down, ending his life amidst a tragic scream. Karnak squatted beside the slain bishop and used his magic to extract the dark energy from Straff's body. Watching the massive pool of energy leave the corpse, Karnak sarcastically remarked on Straff's generosity, saying that one dark magic pool was worth 30 servings, exactly what they needed for their plans. Baros, also pleased, noted that they could finally head home. Our boys, now in high spirits, began making preparations to return to Gestard. Baros even offered to scout out worthy restaurants for them to splurge on during their journey back. Red Mommy, however, pulled the two Chads back to reality, reminding them that they still had unfinished business to handle, nodding toward the unconscious Alias and Bluehead. They couldn't just leave them there. Karnak, sweating, admitted that he had completely forgotten about them. Looks like our boy's good guy arc will take a while to fully settle in. We fast forward to the moment when Alias and Bluehead wake up, shocked at the battle's conclusion. They couldn't believe that the trio had managed to take down Straff on their own. Bluehead remarked that Straff wasn't the kind of enemy just 3 people could defeat. Karnak, quickly improvising, claimed they were just lucky. After the duo was knocked out by the golems, an unexpected army of zombies attacked Straff and the mansion. They figured a rogue necromancer took advantage of the chaos to stage a revolt. Considering Straff's nature, that scenario seemed likely. Karnak added that with Straff having exhausted his necromancy powers, he escaped to the basement, where the trio had been able to finish him off. Alias, buying the story, commented that it must have been thanks to Hatoba Mommy's blessing. Karnak, eager to shift the focus, reminded Alias that he had left the corpse untouched, so he could now proceed with the purification ritual. With his staff glowing in divine light, Alias extracted the remaining dark magic from Straff's body. He remarked that compared to other necromancers, Straff likely had 10 times as much dark energy. Puzzled, Baros asked Karnak if he hadn't drained the bishop completely earlier. Karnak explained that if he had done that, it would have been too obvious. He had intentionally left behind some darkness to cover their tracks. Rallying the group, Alias announced that with Straff's death, the Renfelds had lost their biggest backer, and the city would likely stabilize soon. The rest of the political situation would be handled by the Order, meaning their mission was officially complete, and they could return home. The scene switched to the group outside the basement, where Alias and Bluehead were shouting in surprise at Sarathi's revelation. She had decided to become a knight of the Gestard barony and would be leaving with Karnak. Alias, always one to speak his mind, asked why. Karnak, annoyed by their overreaction, wondered if it was really that surprising. Red Mommy, once again pulling out her BS no jutsu, spouted some nonsense about Karnak inspiring her loyalty during the fight. Her eyes, however, were deadpan, clearly indicating even she didn't buy her own story. Alias relented, saying it was great if she had found someone to serve. Karnak cut into the conversation, mentioning that the trio had to return to Gestard to officially ordain her as a knight. Bidding farewell to Alias and Bluehead, they thanked them for their cooperation and expressed hopes to meet again. I doubt our boy wants to meet them again, though. At the Gestard estate, the butler and servants warmly welcomed Karnak back, with the butler still sporting his signature beaming smile. Karnak responded to their greetings, saying it was nice to see them again as well. As the butler continued his usual compliments, he was suddenly shocked by the presence of Red Mommy standing at the back of the group. Zeroing in on her gorgeous appearance, he speculated that Karnak might have brought home a new waifu. With flustered faces, the staff inquired about her identity. Karnak, ever dense, calmly replied that she was Sarathi, and that she'd be a knight of the Gestard estate from now on. Sarathi, ever polite, bowed to the group. The butler, disappointed at the dashed hopes of a waifu, reminded Karnak that although the territory was at the border, he couldn't just bring in any random person to be a knight. Baros, anticipating this, encouraged Sarathi to give them a little demonstration. Sarathi unsheathed her sword and unleashed her aura in a majestic display, greatly startling the group. With a single swing of her sword, her aura cut through the ground and struck a tree, splitting it cleanly in half. As the tree fell, our mommy casually sheathed her sword, telling the group she looked forward to working with them. Unbeknownst to her, The entire group was collectively thinking one thing. What was such a precious talent doing in a place like Jestard? We cut to a few weeks later, with Sarathi training with the Jestard Knights. As their swords clashed, it was clear the knight was struggling. The other knights, seeing his obvious struggle, commented on how they all felt the same way. Despite differences in strength and size, none of them could keep up with Red Mommy. An aura user was just that OP. Landing her final blow, Sarathi sent the knight's sword flying, completely disarming him. The knight, acknowledging his loss, requested they end the training there. Sarathi agreed, telling him he did well. As she watched the knights leave, Baros called out to her, thanking her for training them and asking if he could have a turn next. We cut to the duo clashing wildly. Baros, swinging his sword, launched attacks at Sarathi while calling out her weaknesses. He noted that her use of battle aura was unstable. She wasted too much power and needed to be more precise with each strike. Struggling to keep up, Sarathi wondered if it was really that easy to master all those principles. Creating some distance, she asked if Baros could possess her again, so she could feel the techniques firsthand. Baros casually dropped a bombshell, explaining that possession should be limited to once. If done more than 3 times, the soul could be corrupted, and the possessed person might go mad. Rightfully shocked, Sarathi told him to wait a minute. He had done something that dangerous to her? Baros encouraged her to just keep practicing the old-fashioned way, assuring her she had more than enough talent to master the techniques on her own. He told her to get some rest, as he'd need her help to awaken his aura later. Back in Karnak's room, our boy was stressed, trying to figure out how Straff had managed to combine necromancy with divinity. If such a combination were possible, he would have known about it from his past life. The puzzle was driving him crazy. Deciding to set it aside for now, Karnak deemed it more important to block the spread of the darkness of the end for the moment. From his understanding, the darkness flowed through time and space, spreading through this period, so he needed to create a strong enough body to investigate the source. Washing the darkness down several times and carefully manipulating it without making any mistakes, Karnak finally coalesced his mana into a swirling red vortex. The vortex sucked in more dark mana, generating a vertical eye at its center. Holding the mass of dark mana in his palm, Karnak smiled in satisfaction at the completion of his time-space investigative physique, the Eye of Darkness.